calling you. The voice of a mother and a father and a child. Would you recognize the truth? Do you feel the love that's falling from my eyes? Take just a minute, come and rest by my side. Let me tell you your own story. Let me walk you through your lives. Only a second, that's all it takes to be alive. There's 100,000 angels by your side. There's 100,000 angels by your side.
Good morning, rise and shine, beloved. It's Terry Jo. That is one of my all-time favorite, meaningful, heartfelt songs called 100,000 Angels. It's by I think they're in Europe somewhere. I can't remember where, but the group is called Bliss. Their music is absolutely heavenly, and I highly recommend checking them out and buying their music. Wow. I don't even know if they're still banned, but that was from like at least 15 years ago. I heard it in a seminar with Don Cartwright, a Tantra seminar. And I just remember being completely transported and so deeply moved by the words of that song. Really about divine family and about our experiences here on earth, but knowing that there's 100,000 angels on our side. Isn't that sweet and comforting to know? I believe that. I've had experiences of that. So, let me call in the light. And then we'll do a 1-minute peace meditation because that was a little longer intro. So we can just center ourselves in ourselves and invoke our higher self and feel a sense of gratitude. And knowing that right here, right now, all is well, regardless of what's going on and what we have to get to later, what we've just heard, what we need to process. Just focus on your breath and gratitude for this moment. Great Spirit, so grateful for this opportunity to be together, for this opportunity to be here on planet Earth, for our opportunities to explore and grow and learn and fumble through whatever we're growing through, and to develop courage and develop resilience and develop strength and develop faith, and really just be observant of ourselves and this moment right now, because in the moment, things are okay in the moment when we're not up here in our head or even in our feelings, but just in the moment. So we're grateful for that, and we ask for a special blessing this day, and so it is. Sorry, I have 2 fans on me right now because I'm super hot, so that makes me actually cough because the air blowing does that to me. So I'm going to set our little 1-minute meditation. And I'm just going to look at you out there, send my loving through my eyes. Oh, that was the alarm. It was really low. All right. Well, today our theme this week is Divine Family. And today I wanted to talk about the theme of forgiveness. But before we do that, we're going to draw our 2 cards of the day. I want to draw from the chakra, one of my chakra decks. Love these cards. And like I said, at some point we'll learn about the chakras. This one is upside down. Actually, I'll pull that one since it's upside down. Mother Earth. We love Mother Earth. Look at that. Speaking of divine family, the earth is part of our family. And so I will read just a little tiny snippet of this card, Mother Earth, and see what she has to say. Look, I turned right to it. It's number 1. It's the Earth Star Chakra. You've attracted this card into your life today to remind you to spend more time in nature. Life these days can be quite fast-paced and busy, or slow, which can cause large amounts of stress and challenges. Mother Earth is calling you back to the womb, back to your core and your center. It's time to reconnect to the flow of nature, where everything is a constant state of harmony and balance. If you have been feeling unsettled or disconnected lately, then it is definitely time to feel the earth under your feet and take some time to stop, breathe, and experience the natural energy from the earth. Reminds me of earthing, which is one of our activities from our activity jar. So that's for today's card. And then we're going to do our inquiry, which is this is where I'd love for you to comment. If you are watching this now or later, write in the comment your answer, your heart's answer to this question. Ooh, what's the easier way? What's the easier way? No resistance. No resistance. Cooperation with what is. I have been a very resistant person for most of my life, questioning everything, which I love that about me, and defying what didn't feel right, which I love that about me. But as I've matured, and I would say spiritually matured, not necessarily humanly matured, but spiritually matured, I have come to see that everything is happening for us, not against us or not to us. It's for us to learn and grow. So there are certain things, of course, to speak up about and maybe not go along with because they don't feel aligned with your values. But the easier way I'm finding is no resistance. Okay. So our little breath of fresh air, or ray of sunshine, I call it. Our topic for today is forgiveness. And I want to talk about forgiveness with our family, and I mean this with our family of origin. So we all have a history. Some of us, our history is much more traumatic than others. Some of us grew up with 2 parents and a mild level of curriculum, let's say. Maybe mom and dad occasionally fought, or maybe they, grounded you sometimes and that made you mad, or maybe you didn't get to go to the school you wanted to, or you didn't get to play with certain friends or things like that, right? I know for me growing up, my mother was very strict. Well, first my birth mother died, so that's a huge part of my curriculum. Then the mother that came in was strict with bedtimes and no desserts and no sugar cereal and lots of rules. But I can tell you now, in hindsight, that served me in so many ways. I'm so, so grateful that I had a mother who set a lot of boundaries for me. And it really was in support, even though at the time, it seemed like she was the most unfun person on the planet because she was so restrictive, but she was really loving and caring for me. So I don't know why I went off on that, but I just want to say, like, as I've aged, and maybe some of you are finding this, you found that some things weren't as tragic as maybe you imagined them. This also came from doing a lot of healing work on myself. So, and I realized in a lot of ways I had it mild. There was alcoholism in my family. There was definitely the abandonment issue with the loss of my mother. There was sexual abuse with a particular family member, and some other family friends. I mean, there was some trauma for sure. I'm not trying to minimize that for me, but I did a ton of work, and I know there are others that grew up in much more challenging situations. Maybe there was constant physical, sexual, or verbal abuse, constant. Like, I wish you were never born, and you're horrible. I mean, probably my parents said something awful to me, 10 times, like really awful. and they regretted it and apologized. So that's what I'm saying. Like, everyone's degree of what the pain was is so different. But what I will say is holding on to any of that is harmful to ourselves. So particularly anything with your parents, because, there's a belief that whole honor thy mother and thy father, which, not to get biblical here, but I've had my own in-depth understanding of that from a more spiritual perspective, that's the vessel we came through. And so it's not agreeing with them. It's not being around an abusive parent or sibling or whatever. I'm not saying that, but there is something about honoring that form that brought you through the earth to the earth. So, and there's a wonderful quote, there's several quotes, but one of them is, I think it's something the Buddha said, that holding on to forgiveness is like holding on to a hot coal to throw it at someone. Holding on to judgment, I know I'm totally messing this up, is like holding on to a hot coal to throw it, but you're the one that gets burned. So it's like, there's so much to the topic of forgiveness. I could do a whole week on it, and maybe at some point I will. But what I want to say is, when we go to do forgiveness, we're not forgiving the acts that happen. So we're not forgiving the person for abusing us. We're not forgiving the person for abandoning us. We're not forgiving the person for being cruel. That is actually, in a way, judgmental, like staying in the judgment. Like, I know better. Like, if that was meant to serve our growth as a soul, then we can't really place a judgment on it, or it's not wise to place a judgment on it, right? So the forgiveness work, and I learned this at USM, and it was a game changer for me. Like, it took me a while to wrap my head around it, but I finally got it, is we're forgiving the judgments we have. So I wouldn't say I forgive let's say John, I'm making this up totally, for stealing my books. I don't know where this guy, or stealing my ideas. Let's do that. I forgive John for stealing my ideas. You would say, I forgive myself for judging John as bad for stealing my ideas. So I know this is a radical shift. Nobody ever talks about this in forgiveness that I've heard, except people that have been to USM, but it makes so much sense. So all forgiveness, first of all, is really self-forgiveness, because it's forgiving ourselves for judging. But secondly, anything we judge in another always points to something we judge in ourselves, even if it's super subtle and hard to see. So anytime you have an emotional reaction to something outside that is disturbing, that's your piece that's disturbed, and that's where you need to do the work. And so if one of my biggest pet peeves is people that lie. Like, it's a thing that gets me so angry and upset. So when I do my inner work, I have to really look at, where am I not being honest? And it's crazy, because I'm a super honest person. So it's super subtle. Like, how do I see it? Maybe the lie is I'm saying I'm going to stop eating ice cream before bed, which is one of my things I'm working on. And I'm not stopping. That's a lie. That's a lie that I'm telling myself every single day when I say even when I say I need to stop, there's a judgment there, right? And so when I then lash out at, oh, that person's so dishonest, that little subtle version of my own dishonesty is what's triggered. And that's why I need them to change, so I can feel better. If they would just stop lying, then I would feel better. That's probably the best example I have for me, because lying, like I said, dishonesty, inauthenticity is probably my biggest upset trigger. And of course, we have lots of opportunity to be triggered right now by the current president, because he lies all the time and is very inauthentic and dishonest. And so that, for me, just is a continual trigger to go inside and work on myself. And then here's the forgiveness I would do. Not, I forgive Donald, I don't even want to say his name. I forgive the president for being a liar. I forgive myself for judging the president as a liar. I forgive myself for judging the president as narcissistic. I forgive myself for judging the president as arrogant. I forgive myself for judging the president as As yes, I'm just looking at your comment, Robin. Yes, it's a game changer. It's huge because ultimately, so Robin said, forgiving ourselves of judgment. Whoa, what a great concept. So here's the ultimate where this comes from. If we live in a universe where everything is for us, for our growth and development, there is nothing to judge. And this is so radical because people will say, well, what about child abuse? What about sex trafficking? What about all that? If we live in a universe that everything is for us, for our awakening, for our development, for our growth, for our stepping in and helping, for our getting free from, for our karma to complete, for our lessons, for our basically our curriculum here. And we are the creators of this I'm talking about on a soul level. I'm not saying like I'm creating, I created someone to abuse me. But if I agreed coming in that my mother would die, I would have, alcoholism to work through, I would have sexual abuse to work through, there's a liberation around that. And that's what I finally came to, like, okay, what if I did? What if, just hold that. What if I did agree to this curriculum? My working with the sexual abuse that I experienced helped me be a very safe place to other people that came forward to share sexual abuse because I had an understanding. Alcoholics are the best people to help alcoholics because they have an understanding of what that journey is. So you can see that if you look at everything in the universe is for our development, then there is nothing to judge. And I know it's radical concept, but judgment is the thing that binds us, that locks us in to pain and suffering. So that's the lesson for today. I know it's a bit much. We'll probably do part 2 of forgiveness tomorrow, and I'll do some more examples because it's such a big topic. I really want to give some space to it. And of course, with family, that's where I'd say oftentimes 90% of our forgiveness work is a significant other and or our family. This could be our children, our parents, our siblings, our aunts, our uncles. We just get a lot of material there because we're around those people. And a lot of our judgments come from misunderstandings. And we'll talk about, that'll be what I talk about tomorrow, is judgment and misunderstandings and how to rise so you can see a higher perspective, a clearer perspective. So our activity for yesterday was to have a conversation with one of your relatives, either in verbally or, oh, thanks, Robin. I'm glad you're taking notes. It's good stuff. So having a conversation with one of your ancestors verbally or in writing. So I did, and it was someone who's passed over. It doesn't even have to be a relative, but, and I did this process. I put these 3 chairs out and I go back and forth, and my higher self is always a witness and part of the conversation. So I did that yesterday. And first my grandma Irma came through and talked. I talked to her and said my gratitude, and then she said some things to me. I think I asked her about the situation right now and should I be concerned with finances and all that. And of course she was very comforting and saying it's all going to be all right. It was lovely. And then my dear friend of our family, Mary Beth, came through, and we had such a lovely conversation. And she just said basically, like, it's so beautiful where I am, and there is no judgment at all. It's just all loving and all heartfelt. And I wish people on earth could embrace that possibility because it's a way to live. So that was beautiful. So I wonder if you did your conversation. If not, you can do it anytime this week, but literally write from yourself to the person and let the person write back if you do it in writing. If you do it verbally, get 2 chairs out, or in my case, I did 3 because I always like the higher self to be part of the conversation, and literally switch chairs back and forth and have the dialogue, or the trialogue, I call it, with the higher self. Today's tool, since we're working on forgiveness, I want you to work with one person it doesn't have to be the heaviest person, because maybe there's several people that you really need to work on forgiveness with. Pick the lightest and easiest one. Somebody maybe that upset you last week, could be a clerk in the grocery store that was rude or something like that, but something light. And then work with this new formula of, I'll put it in the comments right now. Here's the statement. I forgive myself for judging, I don't know, name we'll put as And so anytime I do forgiveness, mine is always, I forgive myself for judging, let's say, John as selfish. And then I go right in directly to me, because I know if I'm judging him, there's some part of me that's in judgment of myself. I forgive myself for judging myself as selfish. I forgive myself for judging John as arrogant. I forgive myself for judging myself as arrogant. I mean, yeah. So, sorry, I shouldn't do this while we're here, but because it's kind of boring, but there, I typed it in the little, oh, no, I just was going to end the video. Okay, did I do it? Okay, good. So that's our tool for today. Work a little bit on forgiveness with somebody that you love, or somebody, actually, if you can, pick a family member. Since we're doing Divine Family, I said someone in the store, but don't do that. But maybe it's a light little thing that your cousin did that you want to forgive, work to forgive, and come into you don't have to do anything with them. It's an internal process, right? And so my intention for the day, if you have any intentions for the day, you can write that down. I have so many things, Zoom things that I have to do today, meetings and stuff like that. It's kind of been crazy. I'm busy for the next 5 days, super busy. The quality I'm calling forward right now, we went way over time, is forgiveness. Forgiveness. I forgive myself for judging myself for talking too much. I forgive myself for judging myself as being too much. I forgive myself for judging myself as going over time. So we have a story for today. It's a special story I'm going to read in honor of my dear friend Bria Zoe, whose birthday is today. I read it before, but I'm going to read it again because it's her favorite. So stay tuned. After this, I'm going to read this. It's a super sweet story about your higher self. So I highly recommend that you tune in and watch. Love you. Have a blessed day.